Hello, I'm Dr. Dan Siegel, and I wanted to make a brief video a little bit about Pick a Seat. Now, I refer to Pick a Seat a lot in certain assignments, and what Pick a Seat is an acronym, and it's a mental model. An acronym being each letter talks about a particular type of approach to game design, and the overall picture of Pick a Seat is as a model, a mental model, for you to think about how to take a lesson and turn it into kind of a game-based lesson, or take content and make it, give it an educational delivery with a gaming feel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about it. You're going to see me, and this is kind of a first draft, so hopefully you'll like it. I'll probably make another video in the future, but this is kind of new for me, so I hope you bear with it. Anyway, Pick a Seat. I'm going to go through what each letter stands for, and hopefully you'll get the gist of it. This is something we'll be going over in a great level of detail in week 1. So here we go. So this is what Pick a Seat stands for. It stands for pacing, instruction, controls, knowledge, achievements, story, end game, assessment, and timing. Now, this isn't all of the information. This isn't everything. But what Pick a Seat is things to think about. So if you're thinking about your lesson, your content, your game, and you're bringing it all together, and you're trying to decide, well, what are some factors I need to consider when making a game-based lesson? Here are some of them. I developed Pick a Seat. I just try to make life easier. Now, it doesn't cover all the aspects, but it covers enough to kind of give you a starting point, give you like a jump in. So if you ask yourself, well, P-I-C-K, these are things that'll get your brain going. And the interesting thing is, the information you're looking at, being the different letters of the acronym Pick a Seat, are in many ways the basis of some of the biggest games out there. So whether you're making Monopoly, or you're making World of Warcraft, or you're making any game, these components are similar in those game designs as they will be in your design of your lesson. So these are things that I want you to think about. So the first one would be pacing, instruction, controls, knowledge, achievements, story, endgame, assessment, and timing. These are things that we're going to go into a little bit more detail in just a moment. So pacing. How fast or slow is this game? Is it turn-based? Is it played in teams? Who goes first? And how much time do they have? And I don't mean to read the slides. I'll try to cut down on that. But really, it's about when you do your lesson, how fast or slow is your lesson going to be? And when they're playing your lesson, student being your learners, is it turn-based? Do they play in teams? Who goes first? How much time do they have? This is just a factor that you'll think about when you develop your game-based lesson. Instructions. As we all know, when you have a group of students, you want to get them going as quickly as possible. So think about how they're going to learn how to play. And if they forget the rules, what do you have as reminders or guides? Or are you going to have a tutorial? Are you going to have reference materials? Are you going to have, like, let's say, team leaders to help and support, or rule masters, or referees, or game masters kind of helpers? Or are you just going to remind them and just say, hey, don't forget to do that? So it's something to think about. Controls. What are the players going to manipulate? What controls do they have over? It's really important to give people something to hold, look, feel, touch, and control. So try to have manipulatives of some kind, something that they can handle and grab, because it makes for the gaming much more interesting. Is there a randomization of play? What's a cheap way to randomize play? And the answer to that is dice. I was just looking for my dice, but I don't have any. So dice is a cheap randomizer. There's computer programs out there you could use, and that's another thing that will be helpful. Knowledge. Think about kind of like KWL when they're coming in. What will they know, and how much point of reference will they have? What will they learn while they're playing, and what will they know after they play this game-based lesson? And these are factors you want to consider. So we're up to what letter? That's something I'm going to ask you. Monopoly for example, I believe that all games, you don't necessarily learn from every game, but there's the opportunity for games to teach you things. And I believe that Monopoly teaches you greed. But we could all learn something from a game. And again, this could be a bad thing, and this could be a good thing. So what letter are we on for those of you playing the home game? We're on the letter A for achievements. If you said assessment, you still get points too, but achievements was in the row for pick your seat. It's, again, the reason I put that there is because it doesn't have to be in order. If you want to start from the S and pick a seat, great. If you want to start from the A, it's okay too. It's just something to help you when you're stuck and Dr. Siegel's in there sitting next to you. It's just something to help you jog your memory. So, A in achievements. Why do we have achievements as one of the letters in pick a seat? Because in life, if you set a goal for yourself, in this case, the game-based lesson, there's kind of like a goal within a goal. You ask yourself, what are the big goals and little goals? And why do you need to break down goals? Well, let's talk about losing weight, for example. If you want to lose 100 pounds, but you don't enjoy the small increments, you won't be able to enjoy it as much, and it won't be as significant for you. So it's always good to break down to small victories, and that's why when you create your game-based lesson, it'd be good to break down to small victories. Story is a huge, I can't underestimate this, and for the purposes of this class, really try to build the story within your game, because a lot of times people think they would want to make a point-and-click game, or flashcards, or Jeopardy, or quiz shows, which aren't bad per se, the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire kind of stuff. But for the purposes of this class, really try to challenge yourself, really try to go above and beyond and farther. And when I say that, I mean really try to create a game that's an immersive story, that the student becomes the hero. The student dives deep into their game-based lesson, and they have to really rise up and overcome a challenge. And sometimes just by adding story, it can take a very, very simple game and create something very, very complex. I'll give you an example of it. I had a student who wanted kids to remember art. So she kind of said there's this kind of like post-apocalyptic world. The world is ending, and they have to pick which pieces of art they're going to save for the future of humanity, and why. And just by adding that little element of story and urgency and pressure and daunting challenges and stress, really, it took a normal lesson and really added on a chunk of tension. And that's what I really want to hear. Tension and challenge, where the student learner player has to rise up and overcome them. And I really want you to put this in your class and in your lesson and in your work, because I want us to rise above the quiz show type games and the point and click kind of games and the flashcards. So something I like to see in your projects. End game. What's the outcome? Can everybody win? Can everybody lose? Before you answer that, really think, because sometimes losing is an amazing thing. I know that sometimes losing and getting frustrated and saying, I'll be back game, and when I'm back, you're gonna be really sorry. And could be a good thing. And what do they get out of it? What's the reward? Don't just make it extra credit or homework passes or something. Make it something emotional. Make it something that they feel and touch and manipulate. So that's something I'd like to see in your game as well. And again, if you have an idea for a game that you want to really work on, and you want to use all the projects in this class to work on those games, more power to you. So assessment, that's the A in Pick a Seat, and assessment is built into every game. How do you know? How does it work? Well, the real difference between play, meaning just free play, and a game is games are more structured, games are more organized. They keep a score, and that structure inherently is assessment. And if you can manipulate that for your own game-based lesson, you'll be doing a fantastic service to your students, because they'll be able to watch and learn and enjoy and you're measuring their performance at the same time. I'll give you an example. You're watching a group of people play Monopoly. You see one person crying with, overturned mortgage properties and no money, and another person smiling, and they have a stack of cash and hotels and park places and all this property. What is that telling you? That's telling you exactly how someone's doing, but you didn't have to give them a test for that. You didn't have to give them a multiple choice. There's where assessment comes in, and I hope that this is something that you can use to measure performance-based learning and multimodal learning without having to give a formal standard test. And that's kind of the beauty of what we do in this class and the philosophy behind this class. Timing. Who's first? Who's last? Who goes first? Who goes last? And really, how long does it fit into your schema? I really want you to think of game-based lessons and game-based ideas as not just some reward or something to do between important subjects and important work. I really like to see this be integrated and a part of your overall schema. I want this to be part of I want this to be the lesson itself. And really try to give it time, because initially it might be hard for you. Initially it might take a little work, a little bit of effort, but overall I think it will be worth it for you. So that was a little bit of Pick a Seat, and I hope that you found this little video interesting. Please email me if you have any questions, and we're going to be building on these ideas and concepts throughout the class, but I wanted to give you an overview so that you can use Pick a Seat and you can refer to this video in case you're like, what was that again? You can kind of watch this a bunch of times, and hopefully you found this useful and interesting. Again, I'm here for you. I'm Dr. Dan Siegel, the Doctor of Fun, and I look forward to working with all of you now and in the future. Excelsior!